Yes. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Starladder Season 8, Day 18 coverage. We're here at the very end. SSD going to be facing off against OSG, Osaliki Gaming, in our final match of the day. Once again, I'm Zayori, with me is Cinderin, and boy, is this draft going by quickly. Both teams know what they want, and they want it now. Cinderin, last game of the day, how you feeling, buddy?
Oh, let me just check. Okay, good. I wasn't muted. Yeah, okay. Feeling good. Still holding up with the stamina so far, and curious to see what this brings. I mean, SSD. We cast Oslake earlier today, and they kind of, to be fair, kind of got crushed in that game. Was it by Navi? I think it was. Yeah, it was. That was a really one-sided game. And now the question is if super strong dinosaurs can kind of bounce back from that last game, because they must have taken a little bit of a hard hit there, knowing how far ahead they were and how easy that game could have gone for them if they didn't make a couple of crucial mistakes that they did. And if they can pull it together now and continue and just forget about the last game and start over with a fresh game and get a good start again, then they're going to be looking very good against Oslake. But if they carry over some bad mood from the last game and lack coordination and trust and timing, then we could see them dropping a game to Oslake as well. And if that happens, then they're going to be in a harder and harder position to reach that top 4 that so far they were actually looking pretty good for.
Yeah, and we did get into this draft a little bit late. It was a first pick Crystal Maiden by SSD, and Venomancer Clockwork snagged by Osliki, and then they did grab Visage. So SSD did grab their supports early on, but can't say I blame them. With CM and Visage still available, two of the most sought-after supports in the pool right now. Also important to note, when we did see OSG earlier, they had an extra stand-in. Stompa and Ink Visitor are going to be with them again, but now Tron will be back with them here to Poe over there. He's back in the mix, so they have one less stand-in than earlier, but still two stand-ins nonetheless. And we mentioned last game SSD with both Pycat and Misery as sort of pseudo-stand-in potential teammates, kind of haven't found their bearings, but are permanent stand-in sort of status. And with that, Huskar going to be picked. Oh boy, we see another Huskar game. Yeah,
hopefully it goes. Hopefully we get to see it played, because last game didn't happen. That was the game that got cancelled.
Yeah.
So we actually haven't really seen it played, and I might have to correct you, but I think OSG earlier today, Inquisitor was playing with OSG tag, and you were like, oh, so he's actually joined OSG, right?
Yeah, well,
but they only have one stand-in, which is Stompa, I think. But maybe he forgot to tag up, or maybe when he tagged up, it was fake, or maybe he left the team between the games and is still standing in.
Yeah, it's all very weird.
Don't know.
It's still that sort of hybrid of a Spera. Yeah, Krilly was the stand-in earlier as well. So it was Inquisitor who was tagged up, and then it was Skrilly. I said Skrilly.
And Stompa.
Krilly and Stompa. Who knows? Yeah. Honestly, I haven't a clue. I do know that Big Num, Tron, and Shomi have been consistently tagged up in Starladder. So Inquisitor is a new venture, and he is also the one drafting, mind you. So that is, I don't know, generally a sign that your team trusts you, I suppose.
Yeah, not that you're in the team, because it's the same for SSD. Joker is also the stand-in, and he's drafting for them. So, yeah. Well, what do OSG do here? I don't understand this Huskar pick at all. It's a hero we can't really place yet because we don't have enough data on it. I guess teams are still experimenting with it because it came into CM very recently, but I don't feel like there's anything here that warrants a Huskar pick. There's nothing here he really counters. I guess it's good to have his ultimate against Bristleback if you jump on him from the right angle. Removes a lot of his health, but that's not really reliable. And apart from that, I don't understand if they have any sort of good heroes to go with it. We might see the Dazzle that you're hoping for, because that's still in the pool and could work.
I'm so glad you were able to read my mind here with that. Is this going to be Dazzle? But they already have Rubik and Veno, so that makes me think maybe not. They could put Veno mid, could put Clockwork in the long lane if they wanted to do something like that. They could mid Rubik as well. It's possible, though not something we see too often. I guess Clockwork could mid, and they could split up into duo lanes. This is a strange draft from OSG. No matter how I reason it, they still have something kind of funky here.
Yeah, maybe the last pick is going to solve the mystery.
Shed some light, yeah. I don't know, we'll see. They are going to think about it. Maybe Inquisitor here is having the same conundrum that we are. What do we do with this final pick?
Yeah. Oh, so we picked a Huskar? Wait.
Wait a tick.
How are we going to use it?
Yeah, I mean, if that Rubik was a strong mid-hero, I think Dazzle would be an easy last choice, but wow, they're going to grab the Weaver. So
Huskar mid?
Huskar mid, maybe Clockwork mid.
Batrider.
Very hard to say.
This is hard to call.
Yeah.
Tron generally plays the off lane, so I think he's off-laning the Clockwork. And interesting to see him not playing the Weaver, because in my opinion he plays a really good Weaver. The couple of times I've seen it played by him, he's been doing an excellent job. But he is going to give it to Bignum, which probably shows that the Weaver will be going to the easy lane. It doesn't indeed look like it from his initial movement.
Yeah. Mid-Huskar. Chomi is the mid player, so...
Is that good against Viper?
That is a good question. And the other question is...
It could work, I guess. Is
Viper actually going to go mid? Yeah, Ryze does have him here. So it could be a Bat Rider mid, but... No, I guess they don't want to do that. An interesting draft on both sides, but SSD, I definitely like their lineup a little bit better here. Much more conventional. All of their heroes are very scary in their own right, and you see a little bit of synergy. Not a huge amount of team fight, but plenty of single target, and then they've got that Bristleback there with the Quill Spray for some team fight synergy. OSG, they're kind of all over the place with this draft. I'm not really sure what they're going for. I mean, they've got initiation with the Clockwork. Huskar is not a bad initiator. Weaver, pretty hard to lock down. Not a huge amount of crowd control on the side of SSD, but it's just it's a strange roster. I don't know what to make of it.
30 seconds to battle.
There's a couple of things going for OSG. In particular, they have a couple of heroes that do pretty well against the Bat Rider. Rubik is one of the better heroes to have because he has an instant disrupt when Bat Rider blinks in. Can lift him with the telekinesis and toss him away. Also have the Clockwork, who can also create some space with the hookshot and with the cogs in the fight. And then another thing going for them, not too many counters to the Weaver. The mentioned Bat Rider kind of has to be the one locking him down, as actually we're going to have an initiation here. Pycat has chosen to skill Sticky Nasal Goo on level 1 on his Bristleback, and might get to pay for it here, unless if they can get another Grave Chill off here, which they will, but on the wrong target. He's really slow, though. They will get the first blood.
Wow, it does come out for the Visage, so SSD gonna come out ahead there, and that's a situation. We talked about Bristleback a little bit earlier and when to scale that Sticky Goo, and that's a situation where it did result in a first blood, so very warranted. In the long lane, though, I doubt we'll see him put too many other points in it. Probably not what he wanted to grab first, but, well, gonna make the best of it. So SSD gonna be off to a good start here. And, okay, looking at these lanes. Sorry, I did just take a moment to consider this laning situation. And, oh, Weaver, maybe under heavy assault already. They will throw down a sentry in the lane and going to make Weaver's life that much more difficult. So, all right, let's introduce these rosters here. OSG going to be on our Radiant side. In the bottom, going to have Weaver being played by Bignum. Of course, he's going to be farming away. Inquisitor on the Venomancer did take a spill already, but that's all right. He's back in action and ready to support his buddy Weaver. Down here, he's also going to be joined by the Rubik. Played by Stampa as well. In the mid, going to be Chomi on that mid Huskar, and up top it will be Tron playing on the Clockwork. Now, of course, on the Dire side, we do have SSD, the super strong dinosaurs. We're going to hold that introduction as, Visage in trouble, telekinesis, Gale to follow up. Is he going to be able to survive? It looks like it for now. Now Stampa going to be the target that SSD have their sights set on. Joker, a.k.a. Pycat, still stacking up that sticky goo. Oh, man, they're going to let him survive. The Weaver does fall as Bignum goes around the backside. Joker was only level 1, so had no Quill Sprays right there. All you do is stack the goo and didn't want to commit to trying to grab that kill. So it does end up being successful for OSG, but a little bit hairy.
Yeah, that was really close, and Stampa also used the smoke there to no avail. That was kind of a desperation smoke, which did nothing, but did stay alive, did have a salve, so he's up and running again, and the most important thing for OSG to happen on this bottom lane, to be honest, is that Veno gets level 2. Because Gale level 1 is a great slow, but it really deals terrible damage. It deals 25 damage in total. It's a great slow, but no damage over time on level 1.
Yeah.
But when he gets Poison Sting, his hits start mattering a lot more down here. And Stampa as well. Oh, here we go. They're going to get Come With Me lifted up. I'm not sure they want to commit to this one.
Yeah, now that Bristleback has quills, things get a little bit more difficult. But they're going to do a nice bit of nuke to Bignum in return, and he'll use that solve right away. Now let's introduce our Dire side before too much more action heats up. We do have SSD, Misery going to be on, the Crystal Maiden down here in the bottom. Come With Me going to be on the Visage. Pycat tagged up is Joker, going to be on the Bristleback. In the mid lane, it is Viper being played by Arise, and then up in the top, it is Sneaking, and a little bit of solo safe lane Bat Rider action. And believe it or not, Bat Rider doing very well up here in the top. He is 12-1. Against the 7-2 Clockwork, so that is good news for him. And in the mid, it seems that Viper is faring pretty well against this Huskar. Huskar 3-5 against the 9-5 Viper at the moment. So we're sort of wondering how this mid lane would work out, and it seems Viper is getting the better of it to start things off.
Yeah, Huskar's problem in this lane is that since the change of Berserker's Blood, he has really not... He doesn't really have an amazing amount of damage output. So last hitting against a Viper with Nether Toxin is actually kind of hard, and he's even choosing to max up the Nether Toxin here from Arise, so getting 2 points in that already on level 4 makes it very hard for the Huskar to get what he really needs here in the mid lane. Like you said, top's going well. Expectable from Batrider against Clockwork, in my opinion. Clockwork can pull a play here, perhaps, and is actually doing pretty fine. But OSG, the more important lane, whenever you have a try versus try scenario, that is automatically the most important lane in the game, because that's where the most experience happens, the most gold to be won or lost is on this lane. And I would love to see OSG picking up magic sticks right now on all 3 heroes. They're playing against a Bristleback, a Visage, and a CM. There's bound to be lots of spells used here. Is gonna be the Gale.
Come with me, gonna get connected on. He's taking a lot of damage, but throwing a lot out as well. Stompa actually gonna be the first to fall. Big Nub gonna get caught in a Crystal Nova. A Frostblight. They will have the nuke to finish him off. This is gonna be a 3-for-0 swing. They're gonna be able to chase down Ink Visitor. Pycat is out of mana, but it doesn't matter. Wow. Oh, pardon me, not for nil. The Visage did end up falling, but wow, a 1-for-3. You were just talking about how important these tri-lanes are, and SSD gonna find a much better exchange.
That fight goes so differently if OSG have magic sticks.
Yeah,
it's incredible how much that could have meant for them, but they don't have a single stick on their heroes. Now, Stompa does have one.
One on Big Num now. Looks like they will take heed to that advice after it cost them so much.
Yeah, desperately need that.
Yeah,
and
there's
what they
one on
also
Benno
need,
too.
yeah, so good. They got the most important item here. If they had that earlier, that would have been really great for them, but yeah, the problem they also face on this lane is that they have a Rubik and Venomancer combined, and these are 2 low damage supports in the early levels. They don't have much more than... The Gale is 25 damage, the Rubik has Telekinesis, which is 0 damage, and the Fate Bolt needs to be leveled up before it's really a significant nuke. So Big Num has to do too much damage down here compared to the other side, where you have a Crystal Maiden who has a lot of damage, Visage who has incredible damage, and Bristleback who, to be fair, has quite high damage as well, so... Yeah. It's about getting levels for OSG right now, simply. And they actually have an open pull here that they're not using, which I'm really surprised with. I think they could easily do that in Clockwork, actually. Top rotation from Venno.
Yeah, I saw Venno rotating mid, didn't find the opening, and then he did rotate back up top. I did miss the action, though. So Batrider will take a spill up here in the top. He's still doing very well, still the last hit leader. So a very high-value kill. Down in the bottom lane, Visage actually going to fall as well. Again, I missed it just as I go back to the bottom. So
that's also not a kill I would expect to happen here.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm not sure how Visage gets killed here by a Weaver and a Rubik. I have a little bit of a hard time imagining that if Visage is on full HP. They even have a sentry down, so they could probably just fight back into the Weaver. But might not have been full on health when it started. And another pickoff for OSG, so they're looking okay, but they're really getting out farmed.
Yeah.
And we can't deny the fact that if this continues, then their lineup is going to really struggle in the mid game against a very strong Viper with probably an early mechanism and a Bristleback who is getting significantly more farm
up
than
top.
The Weaver.
Oh no, Tron going to connect with the hook shot to start things off, but the Gale is actually off the mark. Just Poison Sting and be slowing Sneaking, so a little fancy footwork there will keep him alive. I think if that Gale connected, he would have been slated to fall. But yeah, even though they're doing okay in this tri-lane, by they I mean OSG, Bristleback's still getting the better of the farm. He has 21-10 versus the 14-2 Weaver. So he's getting better farming in the mid. Well, pretty obvious that Viper is just way out farming the Huskar. 31-19 versus the 15-7. So effectively doubling what that Huskar is putting out. Viper is the leader on the net worth chart, completely uncontested right now, and I think Arise is going to have a pretty easy early game, at least so far. Probably going to be able to grab himself a nice early mech for that survivability.
Yep, and if that trail of events, we could call it, continues, then the problem that OSG are going to face is that their heroes, once again, they still need levels on the supports, and if we rotate, or when we proceed into the 15-minute mark, if their supports don't have level 7s or 8s maybe, these heroes on SSD will just be able to pick them off. A Batrider with an early blink here can be really strong, and Visage and Crystal Maiden nukes together will just kill this Rubik and Venno very, very easily.
Yeah.
And they need some sort of response, because can they actually even deal the AoE damage they need to take heroes down through the mechanism?
Well, we will see a rotation here from Tron and Ink Visitor. They are smoked up, moving around the dire jungle right now, looking for someone perhaps, not going to find him, and Visage going to be the one creep pulling here, perhaps they thought maybe about in the jungle. They're going to bump right into him here. And now Come My Wild going to be in trouble. The Poison Sting, the Gale, he'll be stuck inside the cogs. Nowhere for this Visage to go, just going to do what little damage he can. Now Ink Visitor going to be in trouble. He's going to get lassoed, and the Firefly will be enough to finish him off. Pycat going to be up here as well. They're going to try and finish off Tron. That's going to be a flame break to interrupt the port. Double kill for sneaking. Well played.
I'm sorry, I just had to laugh at that. You actually called him Come My Wild. I thought that was really cool. Combination of Come With Me and Tame My Wild. I know what you were thinking. You just saw the letters. Oh, that's Tame My Wild.
Tony, dude, Game 6 fatigue is a real thing. I was wondering what you were giggling at. I didn't even hear it. That's...
Come My Wild. Very good. All right. Tame With Me is playing on the Visage. So, yeah, better exchange for SSD here. They do have to blow... Was it 1 or 2 TPs on that, though? So, do manage to at least create some space our OSG, but that farming rate is just getting more and more... Like, this is getting worse and worse.
3,000 gold on the graph already. Experience pretty comparable. Really a good lating phase here for SSD. Okay. So, in the mid, oh, I saw that clockwork hook shot. They're going to connect on a Rise, and they are going to get a much-needed kill on this Viper. That's going to be an easy kill coming in. Not much the Viper could do. Nice hook shot from Tron to start it off, and the follow-up damage going to be there. So that will slow down the leading farmer of SSD. Now going to take that number 3 slot. But still, that needs to happen a few more times here for OSG, I think, to start turning things around.
It definitely has to, and Weaver needs to become more of a factor than he's been so far. He has by no means played this lane badly. I think Bignum has played this very, very well. But essentially not getting the farm that's necessary for him to progress into a strong mid-game carry, or late-game carry for that matter. Whereas SSD, even though, to be honest, they have worse carries than OSG do, I think the Weaver is the strongest carry in this game in comparison to Viper and Bristleback. But when they're this far ahead, we're gonna hit that mid-game point when these two heroes get really scary. And at that stage of the game, Weaver just doesn't provide anything with this amount of farm.
Yeah, and you know, I mentioned this a lot, but the mech advantage is going to be a very serious thing here. Viper going for it first does have those 2 core items waiting for the recipe with a double damage rune on here, and no mech even really started for the Radiant side. Oh, my apologies. Chomi has started it. He does have the headdress, but still a ways off the mark, and that's just such a big disparity. It's one of those things that you really can't undervalue in these early stages, especially pre-15 minutes if one team has a mech and the other doesn't. The healing it puts out, the armor aura, everything is just... It's so powerful, and I think that is really going to help SSD coming up here, as they're already looking like they want to take team fights. 4 grouped up down in the bottom. Bat Rider hiding over the trees. I believe he has a Blink Dagger. Indeed he does. Very well timed, and just hoping someone will show their face. OSG are wise to it, though. Bignum and Stompa are just going to try and hide in the trees and stay as far back as they can. Looks like OSG just want to avoid fighting, and they will sacrifice this bottom tier 1 tower. Though in the jungle, I caught the tail end of it, kind of. Ink Visitor going to get caught. The lasso will finish him off.
Right decision from OSG. I don't think they could fight that. Forfeiting the tower is the right choice here, and trying to push up top to get some sort of a trade-off is probably the right move to make. Not too many TPs coming in right now for SSD. They don't even have them. There's no TP on Visage, no TP on Bristle, and Crystal Maiden, I think, just got one.
Yep.
And they're doing some significant damage to this tier 1 top. I'm really surprised SSD are not responding with this, responding to this more than they are.
Yeah.
They're going to give it away.
It looks like they are. Viper going to poke his way up. No, they will use the glyph. There's the Viper strike coming out on Tron. He is going to use the cogs. He will hook shot away. Going to connect with Stompa. I think the smart play right there. Now Weaver going to be under heavy assault down in the bottom. The Sentry, the Frostbite. Now come the stuns from Come With Me. I'm going to stumble over that name now forever. But the time lapse is enough to keep Bignum safe and sound. He does get out of ward range, and we'll be able to make it out. All the while in the mid lane, though, Chomi chipping away at this tier 1, and up top, the tower was denied by Viper once we turned away. Now it looks like they do want to defend the tier 1 in the mid lane. Viper now going to have his mechanism in tow, and they are ready to fight, ready to defend, and they will at least repel the initial push coming out from OSG here, though it's not over quite yet. Sneaking and Tron going to go toe-to-toe. Sneaking going to get caught in the cogs, will be able to Firefly into the trees. Now a Rise starting to take a little bit of damage here, but Venno going to be in an awkward position. He is way too far forward, and he's going to pay for it. Ink Visitor going to get taken out. Now SSD going to have a 5v4 in the mid. That mech's still ready to go. It's on the Viper. That was the wrong bird I was trying to click on. And, yeah, they may be able to take a team fight in the mid. Might even want to counter pressure this mid tier 1 as well.
Actually, Huskar almost has a mech of his own. Interesting build to see coming out from him, and I think it's a good choice. They need the mech for themselves to fight this SSD lineup. And I think the next big team fight is going to have a really big impact on this game. Even if we don't see too many kills, it's going to kind of show where the power balance is right now, because we know that SSD is ahead by about 4,000 gold and 3,000 experience, but the question is if OSG realize how far they're behind and how they're going to try to play the fights.
Yeah.
Do they really understand how much they're actually trailing, and do SSD know what they can actually get away with right now?
Yeah, and Huskar is really impressing me with his farm here. He had such a slow start. He's 0-0-1, but that one assist helping him out a fair bit to get a little bit more momentum in the lane. And now he's number 4 on the net worth chart, actually leading his team. He will have the mech recipe, so that disparity in mech timings I was talking about really going to be kind of a moot point here as they set up that well-timed kill on Viper, and Huskar was able to pick up a bit more farm. So some teamfight potential, semi-comparable. One of the dogs having a seizure in the hallway. Yeah. Jesus. So, but Bat Rider looking for an opportunity, does have that lasso.
Might actually find the Weaver here. I don't think he can kill. Nah, he doesn't have any backup. There's no way he's going to kill the Weaver on his own. Yo, dog. You okay?
I just muted for a second to try and deal with this dog freaking out in the hallway. It's being tended to as we speak, though, not to much avail, as you can tell. Syndrome, you need to take over for a second here while I go turn a dog into a rug.
Oh, wow, that sounds brutal. Well, OSG are currently just spreading out on the map very nicely. Weaver is going to be grabbing some farm bottom. Actually, now they're TPing down the Clockwork. Not quite sure if they're... Yeah, they might be trying to set up a kill here on the Crystal Maiden. She's a little bit exposed on the lane, but will be retreating wisely now. Misery, so will not be caught off, but not too much happening as far as action goes. Both teams just seem to be happy with farming up, and I think still SSD is getting the better deal out of this. They have a Bat Rider who farms the jungle very effectively, have more last hits on both Viper as well as Bristleback. Bristleback actually has really a lot of farm here. Pycat has been getting much on these two side lanes, and OSG, where do they go from here? Do they want to try to team fight? Because I don't know if that's in their favor. They have to try to find pickoffs with this Clockwork, I feel. Or if they want to team fight, they definitely need Poison Nova now.
Yep, so it's sort of settling down over here on my front. But yeah, you're right. OSG, they're continuing to fall further and further behind here. And glancing at items, yeah, still no Midas out. Yeah, I'm really glad to see less and less Hand of Midas. 6.79C, I was worried that the 150 gold nerf to the recipe would be not enough and we'd still see a lot of Hand of Midas, but it's just such a breath of fresh air to see a game like this, and there's no Hand of Midas, no one really interested in it, and everyone's A-okay with it. Really makes me happy, Syndrome.
Yeah, I think Weaver could have perhaps gotten it in this game, but he didn't have too good of a start in the lane. If he had a free lane, I still think he would have got a Midas, but
yeah,
doesn't really look like the right item in this game plan, because he will be too weak around the mid game. He needs to have some sort of tank ability, some sort of damage as well, and the Midas would just delay it too much, I think. The point he could have got it at.
Yeah.
Liking this from OSG, they're going aggressive bottom with the Veno wards, as well as scouting out with rockets, and they know that SSD are currently pushing the tier 1 top tower, so they're going to concede that one. And at least, once again, try to get some sort of a trade. But not really much coming out of it.
Not going to find it. Yeah, trying to pressure that bottom tier 1, but they don't want to commit too much, and there was support inbound. Joker, aka Pycat here, going to venture into enemy territory. Though, again, they're not going to pursue. I hold that thought. Tron going to connect with a long-range hook shot. Cogs come out, and now Pycat going to be stuck in kind of no man's land. Shomi will use the ultimate, but it looks like he was able to turn his back. Those quills starting to add up. Mech going to get popped. Visage on his way in, but come with me. Now going to have to about face, and he is going to head to friendly territory. Now, while all that was happening in the top lane, there was a kill in the mid. Come with me. Okay, he's going to be able to port out. But Arise did manage to grab a kill in the mid on that Rubik.
Yep, and have to say, once again, SSD, in my opinion, still getting more out of it. They're getting more map control. They're... what did they get there? They got the... Yeah, the trade they got there wasn't so good. The Rubik for the Bristleback. But even these single kills that come out, the amount of effort that OSG... Did you see how much effort they had to put into killing that Bristleback? That doesn't really bode well for once the teamfights start breaking out. Because then he's going to have a mech at his array, or at his disposal, sorry, from the Viper. And just going to have his team around him as well. So... They can't really kill this Bristleback in a teamfight scenario right now, because they simply don't have the the single target damage for these kind of teamfights. So,
yeah.
Well, where do they go? I'm assuming that it's going to be Arcane Boots now for Venomancer, and then he really has to level up that ult. I can't state that enough. That's a damage source that they don't have right now that they desperately need.
Yeah, I'm surprised to see him without it here, at especially at level 8. I mean, I can see skipping it at 6 if you want to get that value point in Plague Ward or wherever you're at. But at this point, yeah, I absolutely agree. They're hurting for damage, and they need it. Clockwork has picked up a Blade Mail, so a little bit of item progression. This Weaver, though, is just so broke right now. It does have about 2.2k in the bank, so going to grab that Ultimate Orb. But in the mid lane, Stompa going to get caught. Initiation coming in from the Bat Rider will secure a kill onto Rubik. Pretty easy kill right there. Lasso, Force Staff backwards. Bat Rider with his core items. SSD looking like they want to move into Roche, perhaps.
And they're going to get this. I don't think OSG can contest it, and Bristleback is one of the best heroes against Roshan. The Goo stacks up 4 times, and you can really kite him around. Moves very slowly. You can kite in the pit without even taking any sort of damage. They have Medallion of Courage. Yeah, they're definitely looking like this is an easy pickup for them.
Yep. The Bristleback does make Roshan a little easier. That sticky goo. Up in the top lane, though, Sneaky going to port into the defense of this top tier 2 tower. Tron looking like he wanted to find an initiation, but they are just going to back out. And meanwhile, in the mid lane, SSD still have a 4-man group.
Midas and CM.
Oh, no.
Classic Misery Midas CM.
Classic. It really is, though. They're, as you mentioned, they were a part of the team that was running that 5-man Midas strat, so can't be too surprised, I suppose. Viper is getting pretty close. That Ag Scepter does have the point booster, those first 2 core pieces, just waiting on that Blade of Alacrity, and he's about halfway there. So that is going to be a time when SSD can ramp up their aggression just a bit. That low cooldown on Viper Strike is just so deadly.
Yep, very much so. Especially against this type of heroes, like both Husker and Weaver are so dependent on their attacks. And here we go. Oh, nice lift from Rubik here. It's going to buy time. Oh, look at the jump from Husker.
Yep, long range jump indeed. The Flame Break comes out. Venomancer still going to be the first to fall. Chomi now stuck in no man's land. Compliment of that ridiculous leap. Jeez, just a 2-for-0. That's going to be the end of it. And SSD going to get themselves a free tower. Things very quickly here getting out of control. That gold graph is just spiraling downward in the favor of SSD. Now 10,000 and about an 8,000 experience lead as well. So that will be the Ags on the Viper as well following the success of that team fight.
Yep. Rune as well going the way of Pycat. Hookshot is going to be not off the mark, actually on the mark, but can't really deal with Come With Me here. He's going to turn around on him. I'm not sure he wants to do this. Ow, that Blade Mail is going to really hurt.
Yeah, he will disengage, which is the right choice by far. Stompa actually going to take a lot of damage here. Now Pycat going to come in, just going to pop him once in the face. That Rubik just so underfarmed, makes for an easy kill. Ink Visitor going to get flame broken backwards. Flame break comes out. Sounded weird to say flame broken, but flame break.
I liked it. I liked it.
Flame broken backwards.
Flame broken sounds really good.
Yeah, you like that? All right. Cinder and Seal approval. I'll keep it up. So this is just
and before I get thrashed by the chat. All right.
Just a disaster though. Another 2-for-0 exchange. It translates again into a free tower. This time the tier 2 in the mid lane.
At this point, I really feel like it's a drafting issue. That's all. That's what I have to say. Of course, SSD has a big advantage, but they also just have a favorable lineup for this kind of engages right now.
Yeah.
Without the Weaver having any sort of significant damage and or tankability, he can't really commit into these types of fights just yet. And Huskar was kind of the Joker card here for OSG, but haven't really seen much of him. And once again, the things that work in pubs about this hero is that the Berserker's Blood makes you so resistant to magical damage, but what does SSD have? They have a Bristleback who hits for 250 physical. So when you get low, you're gonna die. And the damage output of Huskar is really also insignificant right now.
Yeah.
The heroes on the SSD side are so tanky, pretty much all of them. Only Crystal Maiden is pretty fragile, but she stays far, far back, racking up gold with the Golden Hand. And
yeah, and
it's really getting out of hand. That's the best way of putting it. Yeah. OSG are not getting anything anywhere.
Yeah. I think the Weaver really is that weak point, though. Of course, with Weaver, you pretty much need to go a defensive item first, whether it's a Lincoln's or a BKB. So his item build isn't what's bad. There's just no room for him to farm. I mean, SSD have been so aggressive that now that he's finally got that core item and he can start being a presence, they're already at a 14,000 gold deficit. So it seems like that Lincoln's is just such a small pickup in comparison to the Ags now in the inventory of the Viper. And Bat Rider with Blink, Force Staff, and now the BOTs. He's got Boots of Travel, and if he wants a Mask of Madness next, he's going to have it in not too far from now, about 300 gold or so. And there it is, Joker here, going to grab himself the Sacred Relic, so probably a Radiance coming out for the Bristleback. An item choice I really like in this situation.
Yeah, it could definitely work. Once again, it amplifies what they're already strong at, which is these team fights. And because the Radiant side can't really take down the Bristleback, why not go for a strong damage item with an AoE effect?
Yeah.
Another tower falls, and well, I don't know what I would do in OSG's shoes right now, to be honest. I think they have to try to find pickoffs because the team fights won't work, and hope for a couple of mistakes from SSD that allow them to get damage items up on the Weaver and the Huskar. It's just not happening right now. On the contrary, gonna get Rubik picked off, and now Huskar as well in the mid, not long for life. Actually doesn't even have one anymore.
They are going to be slated to fall. That's going to be yet another 2-for-0 exchange. Weaver will be able to grab a tier 2 in the top lane in exchange this time to get at least somewhat of a positive here. They may try and do a base race type scenario, but that is not going to end well, I don't think. They don't have the pushing power. Also, a double damage on the Viper, going to give SSD a huge pushing edge. Glyph is available for OSG, but I don't know that that'll be enough to keep this mid lane of Rax alive. The Glyph is going to be burned. Huskar going to be in the grave for another 10 seconds or so. But they're just going to keep on pushing forward. No reason to back up.
No, there really isn't. There's nothing stopping them right now. Weaver is trying to get the best possible trade here, but
he just
Weaver dreaming that he's Nature's Prophet with a Necro 3 right now, which he isn't.
Yeah.
There goes the Aegis, however.
Okay, and it's going to cost Tron his life, but still they will burn the Aegis here. It's going to make it a 1-for-1, but now that Pycat is back up, Chomi going to try to engage on him. Maybe not the best target. Rubik will fall once again. And Huskar going to stand his ground for now, going to pop the mech. Nowhere else to go. Looking for an opportunity, not going to find it. The burn might be enough to finish off Pycat. It will. He falls, but Viper is going to get the deny. So kind of a 2-for-2. They do hold the racks, which is what's important. But it still feels like kind of just a slow siege. Oh, wow.
How late did he just die? Oh, of course. I'll explain that in a moment. Okay, so here we go, snaking in on Tron.
Yeah, Tron in trouble. Down he goes. Now it's just Big Num. He is the lone defender. Will end the monster kill streak of Arise on that Viper, but I think it might cost him. Wow, a crafty time lapse back. Big Num now going to double back, and he will survive, looking perhaps for another window to initiate, but not going to find it.
That was probably the funniest kill we've seen today, I think. The Venomancer, the fight was over like 15 seconds ago, and then he died in the base. Yeah. And what basically happened was that he had Poison Sting on the Viper. And whenever the Poison Sting ticks on the Viper, his Corrosive Skin refreshes on the Veno. So for as long as that poison runs on him, Veno keeps getting poisoned himself, so he was in the base, like, way out of the fight, and just kept taking Corrosive Skin damage, and eventually died. I actually read something funny the other day about Morphling's interaction with that, because if you make a replicate of Viper, and you hit Viper, then they keep infinitely looping Corrosive Skins on each other. And then you can actually kill Viper with his own illusion if he hits it once.
That's...
Or you just need to hit him with the illo, because then his Corrosive Skin triggers yours, and so on. And then he just keeps rolling. That is... Very special ability.
That is, yeah, wow, that's a good word for it, special. That is some Viper Inception right there. That's, I had never really thought about that, but now I kind of want to try that in a pub game.
And works, obviously works very well against Veno, who has very long duration damage sources, so it keeps refreshing on him for a very long time.
Yeah, and here this could be the last
another
fight.
lasso.
Lasso onto Ink Visitor this time. Veno going to fall to start off the fight. And going to be an easy 5v4 here. Looking at the buyback scenario, very grim for our Radiant side. Weaver actually does have enough for buyback if he falls here. He's got 3,500 gold in the bank. So he is ready and waiting to buy back if need be. But they just don't have the tools they need to try and fend this off. Not a lot of great anti-push on the side of OSG, but Tron will hookshot in. Mech going to get popped right away. Yule's going to come out on him. Chomi going to hop in as well. Looks like they want to try and bring down this Viper. Doesn't look like it's going to happen to start things off, though. Pycat moving back and forth, trying to stack up those quills. Needs to be a little bit careful. He does have Radiance, but he's not the tankiest force on the map. Chomi standing his ground, but eventually is going to fall. And now Weaver going to be in big trouble here. Is going to time lapse. Won't be enough to keep him alive. And I think we could be moments from a GG. This gold graph's still just way out of control. 20,000 gold, 20,000 experience. Veno going to throw a gale, but I think I'm going to double up on what you said earlier. This seems to be more of a drafting issue than anything else. SSD with superior initiation as well as just superior team fight.
With the start they got, they were definitely in a good spot to just continue rolling. If they had a good laning stage, so OSG didn't get levels on their supports and got the Weaver rolling, then they were in trouble. Oh, here we go again. I'm hearing lassos like all the time. He's using it every time it's off cooldown. This time, there's no way he's going to get that kill, but just intimidating Tron here, basically.
Yeah, it does a fair bit of damage. Viper with an interesting item here. He's got a Sange sitting in the inventory. Is that going to turn into a halberd? Can't imagine it would be an S&Y.
Well, could be whatever he feels like, I suppose. Yeah. At this point, I don't think it matters that much.
Yeah. Fair enough.
To be bluntly honest with you, I think Arise could use his gold for anything he wanted. All they need to do is heal up and go for another lane. They could go to Roshan first, which it looks like they will do. And that's obviously perfectly fine, gonna make their push easier. But Weaver, still 30 minutes in, does not have a Desolator with his Lincolns. And this is simply too slow for this type of game. His farm is okay, he's on par with the highest farmer of SSD, but in terms of objectives, they just haven't been able to follow along. They haven't got enough kills, they haven't got enough towers. And then you just simply get into a hole like this where it just keeps being dug deeper and deeper. 25k gold, 25k experience, and SSD are just gaining every minute because they have the map.
Yeah. Well, Bristleback going to basically be able to solo down Roche. Does now have an Aegis to go with that Radiance. And things just continuing to look worse and worse for OSG. I mean, Weaver is close to that Desolator. He actually does have enough if he doesn't care about buyback. He could right-click that last Mithril Hammer right now. But, yeah, at this juncture, it just feels like too little too late. And
he's going to have to do it. There's no way saving for buyback is going to work here. He needs to go all in, get some... No, yeah, he's going to do that as well. So there's a lot of pressure in this Weaver right now.
Yeah.
And the problem for OSG is that they're staying defensive. This doesn't work. They have to push this lane, push the bottom lane, and just try a Hail Mary smoke. If they just stand and wait, they're going to get initiated on.
Yeah.
If they get some sort of random pick-off, they buy themselves a minute. And they need to keep doing that. The only way.
You're right.
Else snaking will always open the fight and get someone out.
Yeah.
Here we go. It's going to happen. Snaking's favorite target, Venomancer, on the menu for the 7th time this game, I think, and will be dropped.
Yummy, yummy Veno for dinner tonight. Down he goes. Poor guy. Ink Visitor really has not had a great game here. Oh, 10 and 7 on the Veno. He has really been picked on quite a bit by that Bat Rider. And also, Crystal Maiden here, Misery is going to find some positive return on investment with that Midas. He does now have a Sheep Stick. So that is just further evidence of the lead that SSD have been able to amass for themselves. Weaver is pressuring this tier 2 tower in the mid, again pretending that he's a Nature's Prophet with a level 3 Necro book. At least the Desolator will help him push. He is going to be able to take it out, but as my friend Breaky Sipun would say, at what cost?
At what cost?
And it will be a tier 3 tower in the bottom top lane here of the Radiant base. Veno is going to buy back. So he is ready to drop that Poison over. The hook shot will connect with the Rise. Again, Met comes out right away. Weaver going to be back, working those right clicks. Veno going to fall once again. He didn't even get the Poison Nova off. The dieback comes out. They're trying to finish off this Viper. It's going to cost Clockwork and Huskar both of their lives. The burn won't be enough to finish him down. So they've really just committed everything onto that Viper. And he's still standing. Now Weaver going to get dropped as Bristleback presses forward. The GG comes out. And SSD going to take a very convincing win over us, Leaky Gaming.
Good to see that they got their stuff together after that last game, which must have felt pretty terrible for them with the position they were in against the retry, but keeping their hopes alive for the tournament. They're now 7-2. I'm not sure what teams they have coming up. I would imagine they're lacking some games against some of the really big contesters for the tournament, like Na'Vi and Alliance. I believe neither of those they have played against. I'm not sure about the rest of the teams. Is Fnatic and Starladder? Yes, they are.
Yes,
I'm not sure
SSD
if Fnatic
has not played Fnatic yet. They have not played Na'Vi yet. Tomorrow, or on Sunday, the 20th, on Friday, they will be playing rox.kis. So, yeah, they still have some pretty tough games coming up.
Yeah, rox.kis are in a good position, too. They're 7-2 as well.
Yeah.
So, this is looking like it's going to be a very interesting finale, because when you have so many teams here, and only top 4 advance, then there's bound to be some really close finishes when it's best of ones the whole way.
And they have also not played Alliance yet, and they have not played next.kz. So, they do have a lot of hard matches coming up. That is definitely
the harder matches remain. So, but they definitely have the opportunity right now with their 7-2, and just have to say, this looked a lot more structured from SSD than the last game. They got an advantage, they kept extending it, they kept getting more kills, more farm. Roshan's objective-based Dota, which the first game also should have been for them. But mistakes happen. They did lose that game to the retry, and I guess after all, they are at least happy with ending the day with a win.
Absolutely. So that does wrap up our Day 18 coverage here of Starladder Season 8. Guys, it was a rocky day in terms of Dota connection in that last game. I had a couple of fails. I do apologize for that obnoxious bit of barking in the background, as well as that untimely bit of fail camera work trying to mitigate said barking. But we appreciate you guys tuning in nonetheless. We will be back again tomorrow. And yes, it is another long day. We've got 6 matches coming up. I believe we do start at 10 a.m. Eastern, 16 CET. Let me double check the schedule. Yep, and that will be the last of our 6-game days for a little while. At least we'll get a small breather here on Friday and Saturday and get to start a little later. I'm Zyori. With me once again is Synderen. He'll be joining me until the Christmas break, or maybe the day before, up at least until the 22nd. So we've got a good 4 days of Synderen left before he has to go on holiday. So, my friend, always a pleasure, and we'll see you bright and early tomorrow as Starladder coverage resumes.